you are constantly playing so many different roles, and it's sometimes not easy, but it's also, I think, it's a very diversified skill set.
Proper route, and I think more and more female artists are being recognized internationally.
I want to hear from you. What is the role and um, how do I say this? Women in art specifically at this time and age that we are.
I think we're still a long way before it changes for better.
Hey Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. I am so excited. Today we have on the podcast Curator on the Go, aka Lisa. She's been a curator, art advisor, artist advisor, and has worked with gallerists for so many years. I've seen you on Instagram, and it's been incredibly exciting to have you here on the podcast today. Lisa, can you introduce yourself, who you are for everyone who's listening to us right now?
Of course, thank you for the opportunity, and hi everyone listening. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I wear a lot of hats, and as you mentioned, I work with artists as an art advisor. I work with corporate and private clients for assisting them building their collections. I used to work in galleries and whatnot. I have my own online gallery. I have a podcast, so lots of exciting things that keep me excited and busy day to day.
Yes. How does it feel, as someone who juggles between different roles? Because I know that is something that I relate to so much. And I think also a lot of artists do. Because as artists also, I think you are constantly playing so many different roles. And, it's sometimes not easy, but it's also, I think, it's a very diversified skill set and that you gain over the years. How is your experience with it?
I agree 100%. And I think this like dynamic in my work and things that I do, it keeps me motivated. But at the same time, it reduces stress a little bit because if something is not active or something is not working, I can move to another thing. Or we can call it like not keep all the eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
If something financially doesn't work 1 month, you can press and work a little bit more on another thing, and vice versa. So I think it keeps me motivated to grow, aim bigger, but also seeing the results on the all ends. I think it's also satisfying.
Amazing. Lisa, what brought you into the journey and in the work of curation and being around the galleries? How did you venture into this part of the world?
Yeah, for me, it wasn't a direct road or route. I was born in Russia.
Okay.
And I moved to Canada when I was 17. And back home, we didn't have that many galleries. And for me, like when I came to the first museum in Toronto, it was like an aha moment. Wow, what is that?
Yes.
Yes. And then I had my first gallery job, and from there I just like felt that I can be a great person to be in between the clients and the artists and their needs for that people who will be assistant artists on one side, who might be shy or just want to be in the studio painting,
Okay. That you saw, yeah.
and the clients who might want to learn more but also need like an educational aspect to that.
What has your experience working with the emerging artists from today's time versus the galleries? What do you think has this over the years? How have these roles changed? Specifically, I think with social media, and how dynamic the whole art world has become, and I'm sure it's only getting more interesting.
Yeah, I feel like we are living in such a crazy world that every year there's something new happening with the technology. Like social media changed the art industry in so many ways. I think being an emergent artist, it's not a disadvantage. It can be a big advantage, to be honest with you, because you're just starting your journey. You can be your own creator, curator, whatever you want to call it, and find the route that you want to take and decide whether you want to be more with galleries or you want to sell on your own, because possibilities are endless these days.
Wonderful. And what do you think tell me something, how has your own experience of you know, being on so many different sides, I think what's interesting is when we play too many roles, you gain a lot of different perspectives. You also understand what artists are experiencing. You also understand the other side of the world, and then you also have your own skill set that that you're bridging the gap. How has What do you feel that you are exactly placing yourself in the art world right now?
Yeah, it's a really great question. It's kind of like I think that I'm still in the middle, even though like I'm more on the gallery side right now. And I think that experience also helps me to assist artists, especially during the consultations that I have or just chats in general. Because for a lot of artists, like gallery world is such a mystery, like what's happening behind the doors, like how the even the commission structure for a lot of artists, like, oh my God, 50-50%, how is that possible?
Yeah.
And what are the game, like the rules to the game per se? So I do think that if I can position myself, it's more going to be on like the industry side. I don't paint myself, even though I feel like me.
Did you ever think yourself as an artist?
No, I don't produce art. I used to when I was little.
Never.
So it was way, way, way like long time ago, maybe one day soon. But I think like my skill set is very applicable to like the business side and being behind the artist and giving their talent, like shining their talents.
Amazing. What do you think has what is I I don't know, I will not say this before I want to hear from you. What is the role and um how do I say this? Women in art specifically at this time and age that we are in the art world. We know that it's been a very complicated, not only in the art world but on the overall aspect. But specifically the time now, and how is the art world changing specifically for women?
I think we're on the good route or proper route, and I think more and more female artists are being recognized internationally. I think we're still a long way before it changes for better, and it all honestly depends on the curators. There are so many new like gallery owners, female gallery owners, or female curators who are on the forefront, and their galleries, when you go and see like the artist list, most of the artists they represent are also female artists. And there are so many amazing talents these days. And honestly, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female or whoever you are, it's more about the talent and the view on the world you have and how you share it with everyone else.
No, absolutely, absolutely. But in a time where we are, or just on a general level, how women have not been equally placed, like you said, in the art world and beyond. But I also think that it is an exciting time because a lot of more women are taking space. It's become more and more exciting because we a lot of us are no longer afraid to break the mold and to take chances on us, to lead the way, to take more space. And I feel like that really could change a lot of things for a lot of us.
Yeah, I agree. Like me being a curator or like a gallery owner, like it is a male dominated industry, whether you're an artist or
Yeah.
an professional, it's still the case.
Yes.
But as you mentioned, we're all fighting for good and our voice is equally important.
Absolutely. Tell me, how was your journey? Did you have only? Let's hear from you really on your side of struggles and inhibitions. What do you think all these years has been your biggest struggle, barrier, something that you feel has been extremely difficult?
I feel like similar to artists, we all have like a love and hate relationship with art.
Yeah.
Same for me, like I love being in art industry in general, but sometimes we are going through either like economic
Yeah.
times where people like, oh, we don't have enough income to invest in art, and there is always something that it's not stable. So I think that I can count it as one of the obstacles that I constantly have to deal with. But at the same time, it's also like self-growth.
Yeah.
Because in the industry and with the technology and everything, you always have to develop your skills, whether it's marketing, social media, speaking, whatever it is. I'm constantly like reading and learning.
Yeah, I think in today's time it's become I think we're in such a time that it's a struggle. Like, the good side is that you keep yourself updated. There's so much that changes so fast and soon that things can get obsolete pretty soon. But there's also, I think, there's also this constant fear of being missed out, being left behind, because it's not like our parents generation or a different time where they do one job. I still remember, um I don't know, you tell me if you also had something similar. When I knew I was always creative, but I also grew up in a business family. I always had that entrepreneurial spirit because I just grew around it. And when your normalization, when you know something, so see something so closely, it's pretty something that that you might want to do. But for a very long time, I felt that I had to choose this or that, and that innately, if I am creative, I couldn't be good at business. Or if I wanted to be a successful artist, I really had to wear one role. I had to play one role. But that, as a person, never felt right to me, because like you said, I can't I like to move between projects, because that's how my brain works. If I get stuck at one place, I quickly move to another and come back to the other, so that I come with a fresh perspective. And like, I love having cross pollination of ideas of what I'm doing. But for a very long time, I felt like the black sheep, because the idea of having a career is to have one stable career, one profession, one passion. Everything was one and singular, and I didn't have that. And I tried so hard, and I kept on failing on it. So, what has your experience been, when you say this, that where you were married?
Yeah, when I entered the art world, I had like it was a similar experience in a way that like I was looking for art gallery jobs and a lot of gallery owners saw me as a competitor right away and I was like, "Really? Like I'm a curator. I'm here like to help you and curate shows and learn and celebrate artists." And like for me it was like the gallerists were the barrier in my case. I was like, really? And then the pandemic started. I started my own gallery, and from there, like it all just like moved on, and I'm happy with everything that I'm doing right now. But also getting validation, and now like I'm like honestly, like what I do doesn't validate me as a good person.
No, no, yeah, I think in the art world sometimes it can, yes, labels, and also sometimes it gets intimidating, because competitive. I think I think as more and more women, like, communities are being built, it's become very hostile, in the sense of like, it's become safe, it's become warm, it's more collaboration than competition in today's time. But innately, it was very pitching against each other, because there were only so many collectors, and we had this idea of scarcity. But I think now, if we're seeing things, I think a lot of perspectives are also evolving from there.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And honestly, competition is like older thing right now, so it's all about collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like healthy competition is important, but as I usually say, like there is a collector for every single artist. It's just up to you to promote yourself and put your work in front of the collector's eyes.
Yeah,
But selling shouldn't be a big of a problem. You just be like outside of your studio
yeah.
and collaborating, doing shows together or reaching out to like magazines together. Like sometimes that will be more beneficial than just like being on your own.
I love that. We are very excited to have you as a curator for ATH Magazine issue 6. I want to talk a little bit about your curation process, how you curate, because also that, like I said, demystifies a lot of times. People apply to things, people look at, they reach out to galleries and they don't hear back. And I understand, because we receive hundreds of applications, and we're not able to respond to each one of them. So let's make this as an effort to, before, if someone's applying to things, reaching out to galleries, what are your recommendations? How does somebody know a curator's perspective, what they're looking at, if they're a right fit, all of those.
Yes, that's a really great question, but honestly, it depends on the institution or the application or like where the artists are applying. But let's say for this magazine, and I've juried a lot of like online shows lately in magazines, and I'm doing a physical show during like later this year
Yeah.
here locally in Toronto. I really take my sweet time. It's not like I see something and say yes or no. I will go through everything. Like I will have my tea and I will go through everything and then I will give it a day because I want to come back with a set of fresh eyes and I never like put my personal taste as the determinant factor because what I personally like might not something like what you like and vice versa. So it's more about usually it's like a bit of a story. What artists are saying with the work is really important. How it is relevant to them, to the world around us in general. Also the skills. Is that something new and different? Because we always want to see artists evolve. And of course, we're like working with amazing historical giants painting and creating before us, but we also want to create something that is personal and new, that is a bit different. And then it might take me another day or so to go through all of the submissions, but yes, definitely uniqueness like aesthetically and through the voice and the theme the artists are exploring. And also sometimes it's like something that excites or intrigues me, something I want to come back and look at again.
I love that. I think that's a fair point. No, I think curation is such a personal process and it's such a creative process in its own that you have to like, it's a lot of to like, when as artists we make work, there's a lot of close up and outward movement. I think with curation also it's like, you keep reapproaching, relooking. Can you share a little bit of your own thoughts? The theme for the magazine is women inside and outside. um, what does that speak to you and how do you interpret it for yourself?
Yeah, for me, like as I mentioned, I grew up in Russia, and for us, International Women's Day, for example, it was such a big day where we will have like flowers and like
Really?
my dad and my brother will be like cooking and cleaning. So it was like a very special day when everyone was celebrating women.
Wow, I didn't know that.
When I moved to Canada, it's not a thing. Like it is a day, but it's very different. So I do believe that we need to celebrate women not only on the International Women's Day, but like every day. But in relation to the theme, like talking about femininity, there's so much, I feel like, male energy in us these days because we're hustling, we're trying to like succeed and sell and do so many things and wear so many hats that our feminine energy is somewhere deep down and we don't have that many opportunities to show it. Only maybe with your like friends, family, close ones. And I think with your art, artists have a really amazing opportunity to show that side.
No, that's true. That I think it's exciting because I feel how womanhood for me personally over the years has changed so much. I think every experience, like I think it's such a experience in itself, and how we all look at each other and how we look within ourselves, and how with the lens of a woman, I think every role that we play, a lot of times people ask me, and I have asked this for myself, that why I don't paint men, or even the Arts to Arts project or anything that I do has everything to do with women. And that's, I think, because a lot of my own experiences and experiences that I grew up with, seeing my mom and people close to me, and I think being it's one of the most intimate experience that we have. Like, I don't know what it feels like to be a man, and it, like, inside and outside, like feeling a woman's world. I think there's like this whole new world within us, and metaphorically and literally, like you do put out completely a new being into the world from your own inside. But also when we think, I think how just the way we're wired, how women are very that creative women specifically. I think it's exciting, so exciting to see how expressive we can be in that format. Tell me something. What do you? Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to mention, like, for me, it's also about sharing your wisdom and experience, whether you're like maybe in your 50s and you're talking a bit more about the life
Absolutely.
and all of the experiences and life lessons you learned to earlier career artists and younger artists, and vice versa. Being young artists, you can like inspire someone in their 50s and 60s
Yeah.
to be better, still like create, and vice versa.
Yeah. Tell me something. This has come on the podcast a couple of times now, specifically people, you know. I want to touch on this and elaborate a bit on this. We consistently are saying when people apply, artists apply, share their work, a lot of people looking at the work, including myself, is the story. It's the packaging altogether. It's also how I think a lot of time artists don't present themselves better. The presentation of their work, the quality they're submitting, writing it enough. But can you break us down on, let's say, from a curator's, from a gallery's perspective, um, what does a story mean? Let's say I am an artist and I want to learn how to reflect my story better, right? What is your advice for that?
I think your artist statement is a great place for you to share your story. For me, it's usually three main components that I would say like every artist statement should have. So it will start with you. So you're the creator, your personal story, like how you came about creating what you do, what is the influences in your life, etc. Then you move to the world, so the bigger sphere. So what you in this moment of time creating and thinking about reflects on the world that we all live together. So make it universal. And then you move to the collector and think about what you are sharing, what's happening in the world will bring into someone's life. Kind of like a full circle.
Okay, wonderful. So that starts with, let's say, I'm Charuka. I come from India, so a lot of that, and why I do, let's say, what I do, the art that I'm making. Then the second point that you said was, yeah, so let's say a lot of my work is centered around womanhood, how the culture, the heritage, how that theme, and it's not only the theme, why that theme speaks to me so much, and why is that so personal, and what I expect when someone's looking at my work to take it away, to take away from that. You're right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Perfect. Let's say I have got my statement together. Now, what are the other elements? Also, like more human elements in the sense of, statement and bio. But let's say if you meet an artist or the way artists show up on social media, how? Because I think when you're applying to things, there's so many limited things that you can do. Let's say you can submit like us. Let's say we ask for artist statement. Though I think we've changed a lot of our process because I'm not very keen on always asking for statements. So a lot of times what we do is, even while we publish artists, we take an artist statement and we attach that, now that we're um, on their portfolios on women in arts. But what we try to do is, when we publish something in the pages, we want them to give away their story first, like we said, and we ask them questions like, okay, if this is an artwork, how this theme stemmed into something, how do you find inspiration, like just different questions to give away more about the artist. So I'm trying, and when we review work, we look at statements, but we also go and visit their profiles, read their interviews, look at their portfolios, everything that we can find. And sometimes I think the curation process also looks like, when you look at the work, it really speaks to you, and then I want to know more. But sometimes when I look at the work, it may not speak to me, but when I go through that process of looking the portfolio, then the story stitches for me together. So how do you think we can fill these gaps of making sure that, while other people approaching your work, what are the things that we can take care of?
Yes, I think it's a really valid point. And when you started talking about, I was thinking about like branding. And always, like I tell to artists, like you should have like a 2-3 sentence spiel wherever you meet people, whether it's an art fair, like you buy coffee and there is a stranger and you want to share what you do, you should have like a little bit of a blurb that you want to say, like 3 sentences, what your art and what your story is about. And that can be like an anecdote, it can be a personal story through life, anything that happened to you that led you to creating what you're doing right now, but something memorable. And also that can relate to the style. Like if I, for example, say your work to like my friend and just describe it visually or based on the story, the person will recognize it.
Wonderful. What do you think artists are missing out right now? What are they not focusing on? Something that you should focus on more. Specifically, of course, emerging women artists.
I feel like a lot of artists are focusing too much on Instagram or trying to polish it up a little bit, because we still have this notion that galleries only look, or galleries looking for artists who have like portfolio style Instagram. I'm honestly the opposite. I want to see your face. I want to buy from person. I don't want to see like just the works there. And I do think like some artists are doing a great job with just like putting them out, like out there, sharing their story, be more in videos. If you're a more quieter person, that's okay too. You can always like record yourself talking. There are so many different ways, but don't try to put any rules onto yourself. There are no rules in this industry. You just need to find the right partners. That's it.
I love that. Currently, we're reviewing our studio visit book submissions, and it's so exciting to see how these submissions have made us feel. When we review magazine and other submissions, a lot of times the focus is not in the studio and images of the studio. But while we're reviewing our studio visit book and those submissions, I was so excited because I literally, when I saw those images, I literally felt like I was in the studio. It did not. I think it also made me more fall in love with the context, like you said, the story. I could see the scale. I could see how an artist looks like when they're in the studio, if they're messy, if they're organized, and that I think gave away so very genuinely. But they're part of the story. Very little details, and I could see that. I could see, okay, if this is the kind of work they're making, I can imagine, okay, wow, how the wall setting looks like, how spilled things are, or whatever. But it, like you said, it's like you're not looking at art only, you're looking at art and the artist.
Yes, like we're again going back to the word branding. So like it's so many things that make an artist these days. So as you mentioned, the story, all the shows, all the fame, all of like, I don't know, like donations that they do and interviews they take and whatnot, but also the genuine human being should be there.
I love that. Okay, Lisa, this has been wonderful. Do you have any last piece of advice for everyone who's listening to this episode right now? How they can make something better?
Yes, I would say that just stay inspired and keep pursuing your dreams, because being an artist is a privilege. And whether you do it part-time, and soon hopefully you'll be able to do it full-time, just keep being passionate about what you do. And times change, economy change, everything will just get better, but your talent is something that no one can take away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you give us a final recall on where people can find you? Also, if they want to submit to ATH Magazine issue 6 that you're curating with us, any suggestion, any piece of advice before we go?
Yes, so for everyone listening, you can find me. My nickname, as you mentioned, Curator on the Go. So on Instagram, Curator on the Go. My website is www.curatoronthego.com. My online gallery is kefiartgallery.com, spelled Skefi artgallery.com. And I'm pretty active on Instagram, so that's the best way to find me. In terms of submissions, just again, never hesitate your talent, submit, because you will be surprised. You never know. And make sure the images are good quality, because that's the common mistake that I get. And I'm like, the work is beautiful, but I just can't see the details. It's blurry. and make sure that your story is personal and sparks my curiosity or any curator's curiosity in general.
Love that. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's been a messy start of my day, and I really appreciate you waiting on me. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon again.
Yes, thank you. It's been a pleasure.